What's up, everybody, and welcome to Assemble XP. One of your hosts, Matt, and joining me is the Dark Knight of Xbox himself, Court. Happy Friday? I've been off for a few days. How are you?
Yeah, seriously, it's the first time I've seen you in over a week. That's weird.
Still
That's
just
really
as
weird.
still just as tired, right?
Yeah, there you go.
According to the internet, though, we have not missed a beat. We have been going hard with content and everything. It's been great. You, my friend, have been busy yourself. I know you. I know because I see the Xbox and I see what Court is playing. Don't look at me like that. I know you've been playing the Far Cry. You've been all over it.
Far Cry.
You've been playing a lot of Far Cry. Just ridiculous amounts of it. And we want to talk today about a little bit more of Far Cry 6, because today we are going to be taking out a little bit of news coming from Venture Beat's article. And this is discussing overall just kind of like the player base and the increase that we've seen from Far Cry 5 to Far Cry 6 in terms of engagement. So VentureBeat writes the article and goes like this. As part of its financial earnings report today, Ubisoft revealed that Far Cry 6 is getting 25% more playtime from its players than the previous entry in the series, Far Cry 5. We know that Ubisoft cares about making sure Far Cry 6 players are spending as much time in the game as possible. The more they play, the more likely they are to spend money on DLC. And Ubisoft has taken to emailing Far Cry 6 players with an in-character letter from the game's villain taunting them for not defeating him yet. That's okay. There we go.
I have not got this email yet.
I didn't either.
So Ryan Telford on the Xbox Drive, friend of the show, he was mentioning on the latest episode of Xbox Drive that he just got like a whole spam of them near the end after he'd like taken it, helped out some factions. So maybe, because I've gone all over the map. I'm 32 hours into the game, and I think I'm like 40% finished the game, but I'm having a great time doing it. Yeah.
You are.
I didn't hit the story beats as much. I was taking the red and turning it blue. So I'm hitting the story beats now because I'm like, I think I need to. But I have a funny feeling I might get an email from Mr. Anton Castillo himself. I did just do something pretty nasty to his wife, and I haven't got an email yet.
Court.
If you played the game, you'll get it. Don't worry about it. It's. I just haven't got the email yet, so.
It's your mind out of the gutter. It's ridiculous. Let's
your
continue.
mind, yeah.
Ubisoft also notes that Far Cry 6's sales are in line with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which released during a similar time frame back in 2018. Far Cry 6 didn't get the greatest reviews in the world, sitting at 75 out of 100 average for PlayStation 5 version on Metacritic, but that doesn't mean the game can't sell well, and it looks to be off to a strong start and should continue to move a good amount of copies throughout the holiday season. So, Court, let's deep dive this a little bit further. So we've seen an increase from Far Cry 5 to 6, which is amazing because I think it's just a lot of it has to do with the pandemic, people being at home a lot more, potentially contributing to it. The game also getting a ton of buzz and advertising around it. The main villain is huge and recognizable across Breaking Bad.
Giancarlo Esposito?
Yes. And but we've seen the scores on Metacritic and online kind of vary as well. So I know you have the stats and the notes there.
So because this is an Xbox show, we will discuss the Xbox Metacritic score. So the Xbox Metacritic score currently right now sits at an 80. Now the user score sits at a 5. So I dug a little deeper on what happened here, and it got review bombed. So it looks like my wife's heritage in Italy there, they decided to review bomb this with zeros across the board because the game is in English and not in Italian localization out there. Okay. I understand their frustration, but I am not a component of review bombing a game. It just makes no sense to me, but the game does speak for itself from what I have played so far. I am thoroughly enjoying it. But if you look at Far Cry 5, it has an 82 score on Metacritic and a 6.9 user score. Now, I enjoyed Far Cry 5, but I did get the sense when I played Far Cry 5 that it was more a Far Cry. Mm-hmm. I was hoping that we would get more story from the cult, and I felt like I didn't get there. We got the hallucinogen stuff, and I kind of just did a level that's kind of like that in Far Cry, and I get that that's a Far Cry trope, and that's something that they put in all the games. I'm just really enjoying this game for being different than other Far Cries. And I truly think that's what's happened. I think people's initial impressions are it's another Far Cry, but 9 times out of 10, I always look at it like they sell though. Like that's what people want. They do want another Far Cry, but this one here, I find our character Danny, we get way more development from the character than we ever have in a Far Cry game. Usually, it always focuses on the villains,
Yep.
and not so much the character you're using. And the fact that we get to see Danny in cutscenes, it's almost like what they did with Assassin's Creed when they turned it around.
Because
That's my yeah. They changed Assassin's Creed. And they made it me care about the player. They just changed it and they made it different, especially with the cutscenes and so on and so forth. Because Assassin's Creed almost lost me after Ezio, because I really liked that story and I just wish they could have went with more with it. But it is what it is. That's me having an Assassin's Creed talk during Far Cry. But I felt that this is a definite welcome change to the Far Cry series and a welcome change to the narrative on how they do the story, and it's hooked me in.
I agree with you. I think that if they're worried, if people are commentators or anybody who's worried about content out there of like, well, they're pushing players for the DLC. I'm like, well, it's Ubisoft, and Ubisoft has a long history of like, here's the initial game, and here's more expansions, here's more additional content, and they keep the game alive for a very long time, and they invest into it, which I appreciate, that they don't just one and done it. I mean, if you just got the single campaign of Far Cry and nothing else, I think you'd be fairly disappointed or think, yeah, it doesn't deserve a very high score because there's no additional content. But they invest so much into this to try and build the world out and keep you going, because we don't get a Far Cry like every year. They might do smaller expansions and things like that, but it's not something that they just shoehorn out every year. And that's where I don't agree with the commentary of, oh, it's more Far Cry. Well, sure, but Mario is still just more Mario. Like, we can make the
100%.
We can make the conversation more Assassin's Creed is more AC. Like, we can make that very easy statement of like, well, it's just more Far Cry. Well, it's just more Assassin's Creed, but different area. But yeah, but every game is like that. So it's, what are they doing different? It's, I'm engaged with it. It's something that I continuously am going back to. And I guess the last thing I'll say is with sales and where they could be going this holiday, I think it will continue, like the article was saying, is that I think it will continue to garner larger audience and more people will be picking it up, because as we get to Black Friday, that's when we typically see a lot of Ubisoft titles go on sale a little bit. You can get Far Cry 6 for probably $30 to $40. And why not? Because you're going to be sitting, if you didn't get it at a launch, you're probably, and it's one of those games where you're like, I want to play it, but not at, $80 full price. That's okay, because you probably be able to get it on sale soon and see for yourself if it's a game that hooks you or not. I know it's got you, and it's definitely got me. I came back from vacation, and it was the first game I sat down on my TV, and I was like, this is the first game I played, because it just kind of hits what I want. I'm like, I want a shooter, or I want to be stealthy in something, or I just want to go explore and mindless drive around. I can do all of those things in Far Cry, and that's what I like.
And I'm thoroughly enjoying the weapon upgrade system. Like my sniper rifle, it's even got a little disco ball attached to it.
Nice.
I love it. But I'm stealthy when I go on the FDA bases. I'm FND bases. I'm just getting up on a hill, ping, 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 and just coming down, and then I just come down and Rambo through the rest of them. But I felt that there is enough difference as someone that's played a lot of Far Cry games and played them all. I've played, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to Blood Dragon DLC. I think also that's what they're going to get a good uptake if people do go out and buy this for Christmas, or they buy it for Black Friday for American Thanksgiving, or their parents are getting it for Christmas, so on and so forth. I think they will get that investment into the DLC.
Yeah.
Because as long as people have played the series, they will look at what Far Cry decided to do with what Ubisoft decided to do with the DLC this year, and come back to those Pagan Man and Boss and all these characters that we loved, villains, and we get to do it all over again. And then we get Blood Dragon, probably to me the best little piece of DLC that Ubisoft has ever released. The homage to the 80s movies, and that is just chef's kiss. So I don't know, but you let me know. Like, let us know in the comments what you have had experience with Far Cry 6. We will have an in-depth review eventually. We want to finish the game before we give a review on it. We're playing it our way. It is what it is, but we will have a review soon. So let us know in the comments. Are you enjoying Far Cry 6? And if not, what aren't you enjoying? Let us know.
See ya.